Here we are for another round of the 70s versus the 90s, and Black History Month is live and in full effect when I put the godmother of them all, Pamela Greer, against herself, when I put Jack Hill's Foxy Brown against Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. And this one was a fun one to get through because, I mean, it's a double dose of Pam Grier. I mean, the finest woman to ever live and just a real badass lady and just, one of the first female action stars to really just rock the fucking screen. So let's just dive right on in to the nitty and the picky. First up, we have Jack Hill's Foxy Brown, which is in a way a spiritual sequel to his previous film, Coffee, that he did with Pam Grier, which Coffee was the film that cemented Pam Grier as the blaxploitation queen. Now, Foxy Brown, like Coffee, was a very gritty revenge film. Foxy Brown's a little more kind of lighthearted and very much more almost a cartoon than anything else, Of course, Pam Grier is the titular character, Foxy Brown, and she's got an ain't shit brother played by Antonio Fargas named Link. And the film opens with him getting in a spot of trouble, because he's like a petty dealer. He always gets in with the wrong people and stuff. And he's being chased down by these two dudes that are trying to kill him because he owes them money and shit. And he calls upon his sister, Foxy Brown, to save him. And it's a real badass sequence. And of course, it has an opening credit sequence that, almost like a opening credit sequence for a James Bond movie. And of course, Willie Hutch does the soundtrack for this film. And of course, he was coming off another great soundtrack. He did the extraordinary soundtrack for the Mac the previous year. And he does an exceptional job with this one, of course, giving Pam Grier the proper theme music that she deserves and stuff. And also, though, Foxy Brown in the film, she's got a boyfriend who was like an FBI informant, and the same people that her brother is involved with have, tried to kill him, but they failed, and he gets like facial reconstructive surgery, and they're getting ready to start a life together. But then her brother finds out that that's who that actually is, so he lets them know about it, and they end up killing him. So now Foxy's on a rampage of revenge and stuff. She goes straight to the top. Catherine Loder plays Catherine Wall in the film. She's the protection. She has a stable of hoes that they use to bribe judges and all the high politicians so their drug dealers can roam free and shit like that. And of course, Catherine Loder was one of the sadistic prison guards in Jack Hill's other great film, The Big Dollhouse. And, she's just as sinister in this one, very jealous too, because, she got a hot piece of ass stud that, she knows his way out of her league, and she gets slightly irritated anytime, a woman even looks like halfway at this dude and stuff. And once Pam Grier as Foxy Brown gets involved with this, she starts immediately fucking it up. She ends up talking Juanita Brown, who was great. She was also in another Women in Prison movie, Cage Heat, and gets her to fuck with the judge and stuff. And then that sets in motion a whole bunch of shit. There's a lot of badass sequences in this film. I mean, Pam Grier takes on like a whole bar full of lesbians, kicking mucho ass, and that was one of the greatest lines, because you got that one of the lesbians in there is like, I hope I got my black belt in karate. And Pam Grier just slaps that bitch across the face with a bar stool. But I got my black belt in bar stool. And the way she looks at it, I always feel like she says bitch at the end, but she doesn't. It's just the look that she gives that woman after she says that, screams bitch, But they end up capturing Foxy Brown. She ends up in a fucking smack warehouse with a couple of fucking redneck fat fucks. And, they do a lot of crazy shit to her. But she gets them back, fucking rips dude's eye out with some fucking coat hangers, and then fucking sets him on fire and shit. She don't fuck around, and she ends up getting some help from a group of black revolutionaries to help take down the organization that killed her boyfriend and stuff. Of course, Bob Miner, one of the greatest stuntmen of all time, he's in this film as well. Also did the stunt coordination and stuff. They always kind of used him to double up and stuff because he could always play a pretty good supporting part. And like I said, the film is very fun. Of course, Sid Haig pops up in it. Of course, he was a Jack Hill regular, and Sid Haig and Pam Grier at that time were almost like a package deal. They were usually in a lot of movies together. But the thing about Foxy Brown though is like it's fun, but It's not near as good as Coffee. And then also not near as good as Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. I mean, here's the thing. It's about a little over 20 years after Foxy Brown. How in the hell did Pam Grier get even finer? You know, here we have Jackie Brown, which is an adaptation of an Elmore Leonard novel called Rum Punch. And Tarantino changes a few things in it, because originally in the book, it takes place in Florida. He changes it to the Los Angeles area, California, and mainly because, you know, this is in a way, kind of his love song to LA, or at least the first one, you know. I mean, and to a certain extent, like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, but this is the one where it's like exact locations, all of the cities, surrounding towns and boroughs and shit like that. It gives him a chance to really like flesh out his knowledge of that area that he grew up around and shit like that. And also, the biggest change is the main character in Rum Punch is named Jackie Burke, and she's a middle-aged white lady, still an airline stewardess, but a middle-aged white lady. But the reason why Tarantino changed it, you know, it wasn't no bullshit DI, whatever the fuck, you know, trying to be cool or whatever. He just wanted to make a blaxploitation movie, and more explicitly, he wanted to make a movie with Pam Grier, you know, and he wanted to give her the vehicle that she deserved after having, for being as badass as she was in the 70s, and then going through the 80s, having to play second string to some ponytail wearing douche nugget like Steven Seagal. And, you know, this was, and even around the time, like right before she did Jackie Brown, she was on kind of the come up, but Jackie Brown catapulted her back into the roles that she deserved and stuff. And the film itself has one of the greatest casts that not only Tarantino assembled, but like just of all time. I mean, you got Samuel L. Jackson as Ordell Robbie, the villain, and he's absolutely brilliant. This might be top 5 Samuel L. Jackson performances. You get a very like internal Robert De Niro performance, you know, because like you see the glimpses of crazy, like when he shoots the Melanie character played by Bridget Fonda. A lot of meta moments in this movie too, you know, because you got Bridget Fonda playing a stoner chick, always watching movies, these 70s movies that are clearly curated by Tarantino, but a very meta moment where you got Bridget Fonda watching her father, Peter Fonda, in Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Very meta moment there. And of course, probably the greatest performance in the film is Robert Forster, who plays Max Cherry, the bail bondsman who helps Jackie Brown really get one over on everybody, you know, get away with the money and all that shit. And of course, you got a great performance from Michael Keaton too. There's really not a bad performance in this movie. Even the side characters and shit. You get a very chill Debo in this movie, and Sid Haig pops up as a judge. I mean, it's also the most mature movie that Tarantino ever made. I mean, honestly, this movie is the sexiest movie about getting old, you know, because it's really, and it deals with it in a way that a lot of movies that deal with people getting old, it doesn't dwell on it too much. You know, there's conversations about, there's that scene where you got Pam Grier and Robert Forster sitting at the table and talking. She asks him, how do you feel about getting old and everything? But it's also too about people dedicated to their job, or their profession and stuff, you know, because like the thing about it, you don't see a lot of romance in Tarantino movies, but there is a slight little romance between Jackie Brown and Max Cherry. And it's more like, much like even in Foxy Brown, you know, there's no way this woman walks into a room and doesn't turn every single head in the fucking room. I mean, it's just impossible. I mean, she's the finest woman to ever live. Everybody wants to get to know Pamela Grier. And so you have it where, you know, you can't help but be smitten. And then there's that, they have that kiss at the end, but then the fucking phone rings. He's running, you know, you're running a business, Max. You can't fucking, you know, and it just kind of blurs out because he knows he should run off with her, but you know, he's still bound by duty. Only took 10%. That's his fee. You know, it's fucking very well written because they're very mature deals, especially for only being his third movie and his follow-up to Pulp Fiction. I mean, yet again, hard situation when you make probably what's going to be the greatest film of your career. You have nowhere for sure to go, because anything you do is always going to be compared to that shit. And if you fuck it up, then you're going to be written off as a one note Charlie, or maybe just two, because Reservoir Dogs was a fucking bullet too. But like I said, every single performance in it, and it's got a very eclectic soundtrack. He knows the right songs to put to Pam Grier. Like, just it announces her presence every time. She even uses the one that she sang for the Big Dollhouse, Long Time Woman. Very tongue-in-cheek reference to, of course, the women in prison films that she was in, where she gets thrown in prison when they find the coke in the fucking money bag and shit. But yet, of course, a lot of but honestly, for all the references that it is, it's probably his least pastiche movie too, because at the same time, he's making a movie that's an homage to blaxploitation films that he grew up on as a kid, but himself being the film guy that he is, realizing the sins of blaxploitation movies, and kind of takes all the camp out of it and makes a serious ass movie, because also he has an understanding of black people that most white directors did not have, and especially the ones that made blaxploitation films in the 70s. So this round clearly has to go to Jackie Brown, because it's just a better movie. I mean, for a movie that's like at least an hour longer than Foxy Brown, it moves like a bullet, especially it's mostly just talking. There's not a lot of action. Whereas like Foxy Brown, like nonstop action. If we're going like who's got the better action and the better kills, I mean, she cuts a dude's dick off in Foxy Brown and kills a motherfucker with an airplane. I mean, the action fucking delivers. And honestly, like, Pam Grier is not really the superhero that she is in Foxy Brown and Jackie Brown, but it also goes with the age. But she really gets to show off her acting chops in this film, because like, she's no slouch. I mean, she's got an intensity, like, you feel that shit when she fucking delivers a line. Like, you shit your britches, or you get a hard on, or both. Shit, I don't know, whatever gets you on. But also too, the cast is better. I mean, and now the soundtrack may not be better, because Willie Hutch's soundtrack for Foxy Brown is the only thing he did better was the soundtrack he did for the Mac. And plus too, like I said, it's just, Jackie Brown is just one of those movies you can put it on and you're gonna keep watching it, because it's just fun, and it deals with a lot of serious shit, but it still manages to be an entertaining film. So for anybody keeping score, that is 76-59. 70s are only up by 17. The 90s broke that streak. Now they're on a streak of their own. It's a 2-film streak. So we'll see how that goes. Black History Month, so you'll see a lot more Afrocentric matchups. Next Saturday, you always get a main event. Next Saturday will be Superfly versus New Jack City. So stay tuned for that. It's really getting exciting. And just give it up for the blaxploitation queen, the finest woman to ever live, the godmother of them all, Pamela Grier. You can't fuck with her. Anytime you get to see Pam Grier on the screen, it's a treat for all.